Good afternoon, everybody. Bon après-midi. You can see by the size of my smile how excited I am today to introduce you to the newest member of the National Liberal Caucus, the Member of Parliament for Fredericton, Jenica Atwin. Vous pouvez voir par le sourire que j'ai aujourd'hui que j'ai énormément de plaisir à vous présenter la nouvelle membre du caucus libéral national, la députée de Fredericton, Jenica Atwin. So this for us, for Liberal colleagues, for my colleagues in the House of Commons, for the Prime Minister, is a very, very happy moment. We're welcoming into the Liberal caucus, and we're welcoming someone who will be a Liberal candidate for Fredericton in the next general election, an absolutely outstanding woman, Jenica Atwin. We have all been impressed over these last years by Jenica's advocacy for issues important to Fredericton, by her commitment to issues that we share, issues as important for the future of the planet as tackling climate change. But our conversations with Jenica have focused these last days on what we can do together to help the people of Fredericton and to support the people of New Brunswick with the newest Liberal Member of Parliament, Jenica Atwin. Alors, vous pouvez voir que j'ai le plaisir, au nom de mes collègues du caucus, au nom du Premier ministre Trudeau, de souhaiter la bienvenue à une personne extraordinaire, à Jenica Atwin, au sein du caucus libéral national. Nous avons tous été extraordinairement impressionnés par le travail acharné que Jenica a fait pour représenter les gens de Fredericton, les gens du Nouveau-Brunswick, les gens du Canada, pour parler d'une façon authentique et du cœur sur des questions qui nous touchent tous ensemble. Et dans mes discussions ces dernières semaines avec Jenica, j'ai constaté que nous avons énormément en commun. Et je peux vous dire, au nom de mes collègues du gouvernement libéral, que ce sera pour nous un plaisir extraordinaire de travailler avec notre nouvelle collègue et son équipe pour les gens de Fredericton, pour les gens du Nouveau-Brunswick et du Canada. And this is the work that I'm excited to do over the coming months and the coming years, and I look forward to campaigning with Jenica in the next general election whenever it happens, and I can tell you we're convinced that she will make an enormous contribution to our government and to the people of Canada, and that's why we're so excited today, and that's why I'm so excited to introduce you to my newest colleague in the Liberal caucus, Jenica Atwin.
Bonjour tout le monde, merci beaucoup pour être ici avec nous. Thank you so much for coming, and it's a good day. I think this is a positive thing for my community, and the past month I've been at a crossroads. It's been, in a word, distracting. And so I'm going where I can do my best work on behalf of my community and for the people that I care so deeply about. We can't also ignore some of the big things that's happened in our country over the past few weeks as well. I think about the discovery of 215 children's remains at the former Kamloops Residential School. I think about the terrible tragedy in London, the rise of hate and racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia. And it's really important that now we stand united as Canadians, as New Brunswickers, as Frederictonians, to do what we can to make sure that there's a better future for our children and our children's children. And that is always at the forefront of my work, and I will continue to do that work as the newest member of the Liberal caucus. Obviously, this is a day I had not anticipated, but I am very, again, optimistic and hopeful, and I'm excited by the opportunity that this brings. And I think, again, that this is a good thing. And so very much, again, this is about not backing down. It's not about being other than who I am. I'm Jenica. I'm from Fredericton, and I have the same priorities, the same values that I've always had. And so it's my hope that I will still maintain the trust of the voters of Fredericton, of my colleagues, of my friends, and I'm just so excited for the prospect of working with so many incredible people in Ottawa. It's been a pleasure to get to know members from across party lines over the last almost 2 years, and I will continue to work as hard as I have in the same capacity. To the people of Fredericton, this is for you. I have loved every minute of being your member of Parliament. I hope you will allow me to continue that work, to continue to bring your concerns to Ottawa. And the color of my team does not compromise who I am or what I will continue to do for this riding. To the members of the Green Party locally and across the country that have expressed kindness and solidarity these last few weeks, you will never know how important your words of encouragement and support have been. I have such love for you all in my heart. As a note, I will be hosting a virtual community town hall on Tuesday for Fredericton constituents. My team will have all the information that you need. It's also on my website and our Facebook and social media platforms. So it's an opportunity to ask me any question you need. I'm sure constituents will have lots of questions, and we are more than prepared to answer and to move through this next chapter together. So thank you very much.
Jenica, can you tell us, I've got a couple questions. First, can you tell us to what extent this recent discussion within the Green Party about Israel and Palestine, what role that had in this decision exactly?
Sure, and that's a great question, Jacques. And I mentioned distraction. It's been really difficult to focus on the important work that needs to be done on behalf of my constituents. So it certainly has played a role. Again, I never expected this day to come, but I am so thrilled that it's come with open arms and respect and support and encouragement. And I'm just, again, collaboration's always been my key. It's always been my approach to be respectful. And so that has served me well, and I think it's allowed for me to make this transition in a really good way.
And in the 2019 campaign, you remember we talked about Justin Trudeau, and you said that progressive voters felt betrayed by him on electoral reform. Mm-hmm. You said that the federal government had not done enough on climate, on Clinic 554, and that the Green Party was the real progressive option. So maybe you can explain how you feel today relative to those statements.
Sure, and that's another excellent question. And if you've looked at my voting record, my comments in the House of Commons, everything that I say and have done stands. I'm coming now to work again collaboratively. I'll be at the same table, and I'm hopeful that that can help usher in the change that I'm hoping to see. So again, my priorities remain the same, my values remain the same, and I'm going to work with the colleagues who I've mentioned before on some of the things that I feel we need to really focus on and drive action on. So this is an opportunity to see if I can do that work in this space to the way that I wanted to do it.
What would you say to the voters who voted for you because of those issues 2 years ago?
And to the voters, I would say I'm still me. And for me, it was always difficult, really, to choose, which party flag to fly over my head. And it's just about the work. I've always wanted to do the work. And that's really what I communicated to voters during the election, and I want to continue to do that work, but to the best of my ability in an environment that's supportive and collaborative. And so I'm ready to do that now, and I've learned so much over the last couple of years. Obviously, the pandemic has changed a lot of things. I think that has a role to play here as well. Canada's different. We're different, and I'm going to use those lessons that I've learned to be as effective a member of Parliament as I possibly can for the voters of Fredericton.
You mentioned that your past comments still stand. What about your recent comments about the Prime Minister's response to the violence in Israel being inadequate? Does that still stand? Do you still feel that way?
So my comments were actually not towards the Prime Minister. And so my comments do still stand in that I'm hoping, again, to have those difficult conversations and work towards what we want to see as far as peace in the future for the Middle East. So this is, again, it's part of this journey, is working through those conversations. But my opinion is supported in that, there's a diversity of views, but it's important that we come together on this in particular, and our role as Canadians and what that means, and looking at different issues abroad. So my comments do still stand.
People locally, I think, are wondering as well if you had conversations with other parties, or if this was just with the Liberal Party about crossing the line with them.
Well, so I've worked really hard again to build really strong relationships in the House. So any conversations that I've had about, potentially, joining other teams. I'm flattered by them. This was a decision that I had to make. So there's been only one option that really was for me. I'll say that.
And do you still feel that you'll be comfortably able to speak your mind as you have in the past within the confines of the government and a larger party?
Well, and you know, I've spoken so much over such a broad range of issues over the last 2 years. I've held 10 critic files. So, you know, I know that my Liberal, you know, friends and colleagues know what I'm about, and they know what I'm passionate about and how hard I want to work towards change on those files. And so I feel welcome, and I feel prepared to be able to do that, you know, that same work with the same level of passion that I've previously brought. So I would say yes, I'm excited for the opportunity to show my stuff kind of in a different venue.
I have to ask because I think that there's a lot of chatter wondering if this will lead to a promotion at some point within the Liberal Party. Is that something that's part of this decision for you?
Oh, well, we haven't discussed anything like that, kind of one step at a time. But that would be amazing for Fredericton, so we'll have to see. And it's always, again, it's about my constituents. It's about my home riding and my community.
And on your constituents, did you get any feedback at this point? I know you're going to have a town hall, but by this time, have you already spoken to some people in your community about this decision, and what have they said to you?
So it really just a few key people who are really have been beside me throughout this whole journey into federal politics, because it was important to maintain those, you know, personal relationships in a positive way. But very much it's been kind of kept close to my heart because we knew that this was going to be kind of a big deal, and we wanted to do it in the right way that would really focus on the positive aspects. So I've kept it pretty close to my chest.
So aside from a promotion, was there anything specifically offered with this joining this party to you in exchange for doing that?
This is a great question, and no, not at all. This is really of my free will, without any kind of promises down the line. It's about, again, the voters of Fredericton and what I need to do for them, and a space that's welcoming, respectful, and collaborative.
As a Green MP, you've argued against the Trans Mountain Pipeline and fracking. Do you still hold those views, or have you changed your views, you know, as you go into the Liberal Party?
Great question again, and no, I have not changed my views. You know, again, it's about going in and having those tough conversations, hopefully adding my perspective, being listened to, maybe being able to push the file from the inside. And I've been very open and honest about, you know, my perspective on pipelines, on fracking as well. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the reception that I've had, and I will continue to be strong on climate and environmental issues.
Quelle était votre, en français, Madame Atwin, quelle était votre relation avec la nouvelle chef du Parti vert, Mme Paul, et qu'est-ce qui a fait, quel a été l'élément suivant lequel vous avez pris vos décisions, that's enough, c'est assez, je quitte. Alors, c'était quoi votre relation avec Mme Paul, puis c'est quoi l'événement qui vous a fait changer de parti?
Je n'ai pas parlé avec Mme Paul du tout. Et ce n'est pas partie de mon décision. C'est seulement pour moi, pour mon communauté, pour ma famille. Et ça, c'est toutes les choses qui sont partie de cette décision.
Mais qu'est-ce qui vous a fait prendre cette décision? Pourquoi vous changez de parti?
J'ai dit parce que c'est une distraction des enjeux qu'on notre caucus puis notre chef. Et c'est difficile pour moi. Et c'est tellement difficile pour tellement semaines qui se passaient. C'est besoin d'un changement pour moi et aussi pour les électeurs. Je pense que c'est la bonne décision pour tout.
Vous parlez de distraction. Donnez-nous des exemples. Par exemple, comme quoi? Qu'est-ce qui a été une distraction dans votre parti, dans votre ancien parti, le Parti vert?
Des fois, il y a des enjeux qui c'est difficile d'être sur la même page. Et je pense que cet enjeu, c'est l'une de ces situations. Et vraiment, c'est partie de qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. Mais encore, je veux le meilleur pour Mme Paul et j'espère qu'on peut être les amis en futur. Mais maintenant, ceci pour moi et pour les électeurs de Fredericton.
Donc la question d'Israël, c'est ça qui a fait la différence?
Oui, c'est une partie de ça, et c'est juste la méthode de communication qui manque. Et ça, c'est, je pense que tout que je veux dire à propos de ça.
C'était historique quand vous avez pris le Parti vert ici à Fredericton, une des 3 députées vertes au Canada. Aujourd'hui, le caucus du Parti vert perd le tiers de son caucus, quand vous êtes parti. Vous êtes la première en Atlantique à être nommée. Ça laisse votre ancien parti dans quel état? Est-ce que vous pensez que ça devrait engager une réflexion?
Oh, vraiment. Et pour moi, c'est les changements de le monde. Beaucoup de choses, c'est différent maintenant jusqu'à l'octobre 2019. Et je ne sais pas qu'est-ce que c'est le futur pour mon parti d'avant, mais j'aime beaucoup Elizabeth puis Paul et pour forever, mes amis. Et ce n'est pas pour moi d'avoir tout le mouvement de Val sur mon épaule, mais pour moi, c'est vraiment une opportunité de combattre la lutte du climat maintenant encore avec le caucus libéral.
Est-ce que vous avez un mot pour David Kuhn?
Pardon?
Monsieur Kuhn était très déçu. Il vous a beaucoup accompagné pour votre dernière campagne. Qu'est-ce que vous diriez à David Kuhn maintenant?
Monsieur Kuhn, elle est une amie proche à mon corps et ça n'a jamais changé. Et nous parlons beaucoup et ça peut continuer.
Est-ce que vous lui avez parlé depuis que vous avez pris cette décision-là? Est-ce que vous lui avez annoncé, par exemple, au téléphone?
Juste que c'est un temps difficile pour moi et que j'ai pensé à des options. Ça, c'est notre conversation.
Dominic, what's your comfort level with Ms. Atwin's position on Israel, Palestine, Trans Mountain?
Well, I think as Jenica has just articulated very clearly, in the Liberal caucus, there is enormous room for respectful conversation, for differences of opinion. It won't surprise you, Jacques, that all of my caucus colleagues don't have identical views on all of these issues all of the time. The Prime Minister has always sought to create a space where colleagues can advocate for issues and about concerns they have in a respectful, thoughtful way. The government has a responsibility at one point to make decisions that we think are in the best interest of the country. But as you've just seen in these last 10 minutes, our caucus discussions will be that much richer and that much more compelling to have Jenica's voice as part of that discussion. And in my conversations with her these recent weeks, and she spoke with the Prime Minister on Friday last week, we both, I think, reassured her that the Liberal caucus and the Liberal government was a place that would welcome her perspectives, her points of view, but equally importantly was a place where we could work with her on the things that she knows are important to the people of Fredericton and the people of New Brunswick. And that's really, I think, the excitement we all share. I spoke with my colleague Christia Freeland on Tuesday evening. She had a conversation with Jenica. And just as an example, there's another colleague who's very enthusiastic and excited about the chance to work with Jenica and to work with her team for things that we can do for her constituency and for the country.
Some of your caucus colleagues, however, have been roasting Conservative MPs for dissenting views that they find problematic in the House of Commons. The principles you just talked about open debate, I mean, how do you reconcile that with how some of your colleagues have gone after some Conservative MPs for their dissenting views?
Well, surely, Jacques, you don't mean Conservative caucus colleagues have dissenting views from Liberal Party views. And I would think if you look across the range of issues, we have a lot more in common with the things that Jenica has been advocating for these last number of years than would the Conservatives. So if we as a Liberal caucus find some of the Conservative views hypocritical or wrong for the country, that is what a partisan political system is. But when Jenica and I have talked, and when we've seen her in the House of Commons and acting as the Member of Parliament for Fredericton, she and I, in the first conversation we had, realized that there was a great deal more in common than might be different. And I'm not sure that would necessarily be true of some colleagues in the Conservative caucus.
Est-ce que c'est Jenica Atwin qui vous a approché ou c'est vous qui avez approché Jenica Atwin et c'est quelque chose lui a été promis dans un futur gouvernement?
Vous l'avez entendu, Jenica, très clairement. Il n'y a absolument rien qui a été promis, sauf l'effort de collaborer avec notre nouvelle collègue pour le bien des gens de Fredericton et du Nouveau-Brunswick et du Canada. Alors, c'est une mission qu'on va se donner ensemble pour appuyer les causes qui sont importantes pour cette région, pour la circonscription de Fredericton, et ça va être d'autant plus facile avec Jenica comme membre de notre équipe. Moi, Jenica et moi, on s'est rencontrés il y a quelques semaines. Il y avait eu on a des amis en commun. Le Nouveau-Brunswick est un endroit quand même assez petit. Ça ne vous surprendra pas que dans une ville comme Fredericton, où moi j'ai habité pour 3 ans quand j'étais étudiant en droit, on a des amis en commun et à un moment donné, Jenica et moi, on a constaté que ce serait bien de prendre un café ensemble et on l'a fait. Et si ça a contribué à la décision extraordinairement positive qu'elle a prise aujourd'hui, mais je suis d'autant plus fier.
Il y aura des élections un jour?
Un jour, oui. On ne peut pas dépasser constitutionnellement 5 ans, Nicolas, vous avez raison.
Et qu'est-ce que ça pourrait... Est-ce que vous pensez que cette décision d'un des 3 députés verts de quitter pour rejoindre vos rangs, les libéraux, est-ce que vous pensez que le jour de l'élection, ça aura une influence?
Bien, on verra. Moi, j'ai longtemps arrêté de prédire le résultat des élections.
Mais je ne parle pas de résultat, je parle juste dans l'esprit des électeurs que justement...
Mais écoutez, moi, et je ne parle pas pour Jenica, mais moi-même, le fait que quelqu'un de principe comme Jenica, quelqu'un qui a clairement avancé des politiques publiques importantes pour le Nouveau-Brunswick sur des enjeux aussi importants que la réconciliation, les changements climatiques, le rôle du Canada dans le monde, moi, je me suis rendu compte que si les électeurs voient que Jenica a trouvé un foyer accueillant au sein du caucus libéral et qu'elle puisse, comme elle a dit, demeurer authentique et continuer de faire un travail qu'elle aime beaucoup et qu'évidemment, elle est très bonne à faire, mais tant mieux. Moi, c'est aux autres. Ce soir, j'ai l'impression au téléjournal qu'il y aura amplement de politicologues qui vont avoir toutes sortes de théories sur qu'est-ce qui s'est passé, puis poser toutes sortes de questions. C'est une petite industrie de gens qui vont avoir toutes sortes d'idées. Moi, je vous dis que, comme Jenica l'a clairement dit dans ses propres mots, que ceci est une chance pour elle et moi, mais pour mes collègues du caucus libéral et du gouvernement, de travailler avec quelqu'un qu'on respecte énormément. Et je pense qu'ensemble, on peut faire des bonnes choses pour les gens de Fredericton. Et dès notre première conversation, c'était le focus de Jenica.
Une dernière question, last question. Opinions divergentes, Mme Atwin l'a dit, sur Israël, sur le pipeline. Est-ce qu'il y a de la place, je sais que vous l'avez dit en anglais, mais répétez-le en français s'il vous plaît. Est-ce qu'il y a de la place pour des opinions divergentes au sein du Parti libéral? Mme Atwin a dit qu'elle allait garder ses valeurs avec elle dans son nouveau parti.
Et c'est exactement qu'est-ce qu'on respecte de Jenica, de Mme Atwin. Moi, je pense que le premier ministre Trudeau, à maintes reprises, a démontré une vraie volonté d'entendre, d'écouter, de comprendre des points de vue différents. Sans parler des discussions privées du caucus, je peux vous dire, comme je l'ai dit en anglais à notre ami Jacques, ça ne vous surprendra pas que tous les gens ne sont pas d'accord tout le temps sur les mêmes questions. Et le gouvernement sera d'autant plus avantagé d'avoir la chance d'écouter et de comprendre les opinions de Jenica quand on va prendre des décisions difficiles. Alors, on vient d'ajouter quelque chose de très important, je pense, à la politique canadienne avec Mme Atwin au caucus libéral.
Jenica, could you just repeat in English about whether or not you've spoken to Elizabeth May and David Kuhn, and where those relationships stand right now, and maybe what they had to say about this?
Well, of course, our friendship, it moves beyond a working relationship that we've had over the years. And David Kuhn is a mentor of mine. He will remain so. We have a great relationship. And so, our conversations over the last few weeks were very much that I was, feeling distracted, feeling like I, was at a kind of a crossroads. And so they understood very much that there would be a decision that had to be made at some point. I spent a lot of time making difficult phone calls this morning in particular. And so, to Elizabeth, to Paul, to David, to all Greens really, again, I'm still Jenica. I'm still going to fight the way that I've been fighting. And it's going to be about more showing than telling. And I think that in time, we can look back on this and they'll know I'll have made the right decision.
Merci.
Merci, thank you very much.